Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Let's join me with the Mangalacharan and the Guru Pranam mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Shurato Pango Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohana Divya Grindaranyo Kalpadrumadaha Srimat Ratnagara Simhasanaustav Srimat Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prashtali Vihi Sevyamano Smarami Srimat Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Statastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinata Shrestuna तप्त कांचन गौरंगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigama kalpataror phalam sukamukadam ritadravya samyutam vibhata bhagavatam rasam malayam मुहुरहो रसिका भुविभावकः कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रे त्वयि मे आनन्दविषया मतिर्मधुपते आसकृत् रतिं विद्वहतात् अदा गङ्गे भौगमुदन्वतिः. Oh, Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So, Hare Krishna, today I thought I would want to dedicate the Srimad Bhagavatam session in the memory of Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Sata Sri Srimad, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who left the world, who departed on the 5th of May 2024, and he's been interred in Samadhi the next day in Vrindavan. So Gopal Krishna Maharaj was a wonderful devotee, very, very wonderful devotee with amazing glories. So I'd like to dedicate this presentation on on this occasion. So here you see a picture of Modi. Modi gave a epitaph in the newspapers. for Maharaj. So Maharaj was very instrumental in building many big temples in ISKCON, including the Juhu temple, Sri Sri Rasa Bihari temple, Radha Rasa Bihari temple in Juhu. So like that, many temples he was involved, and a lot of things. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vikna Vinash Narasimha Iti Namine Mukam Namo Vishnu Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langai Tingirim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everybody, welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. So we are in chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home. So a quick recap to bring us into position in this chapter. So we heard how first Vidura Mahatma was introduced, how Mahatma Vidura was a disciple of Maitreya Rishi, and after traveling all over Bharat Bhumi to all the holy places during the Mahabharata war, and then once the war was over, and after traveling the different holy places, he met great saintly people, including Maitreya Rishi. And over there, he accepted him as the spiritual master and learned transcendental knowledge. And after completing his full education from Maitreya Rishi, then he returned back to Hastinapur with a mission. So he returned back to Hastinapur and he was welcomed by Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the other people in Hastinapur, the Pandavas. Everybody was so happy. So we heard about the reception of Vidura Mahatma, and also how Yudhishthira Maharaj placed inquiries upon him, right? And then Mahatma Vidura's purpose was revealed. He came especially for the purpose of delivering his brother Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was there in that palace, and he was very old. And we heard how Vidura used very strong words. Vidura tried to use so many nice words in the past, right? So we know about the austerities of speech, right? Anudvega karam, speaking without agitating another person's mind, speaking sweetly, pleasingly, priyam, right? And then satyam, truthfully speaking, and hitam, beneficial, speaking things which are beneficial for that person, and finally speaking things in pursuance of the Vedic literature according to the Vedic version. So we mentioned previously, whatever we speak must always be beneficial, and it should as much as possible ideally be in pursuance of the Vedic literature, and it should also be truthful. But the other two, which is priyam, pleasing, and the other one, which is not agitating to the mind, that doesn't apply all the time to, that is not compulsory when it comes to preaching. So as we went through this in some detail in the previous sessions. So Vidura Mahatma, he gave so many advice to Dhritarashtra. The moment the Kauravas were born, he advised Dhritarashtra, all the signs are showing bad signs, right? This is going to lead towards disaster. Please really, let go your sons. Do not allow them to live. And then after that, when the Kauravas grew up and they were so cruel and they were cunning and they were doing all kinds of intrigue against the Pandavas, he advised Dhritarashtra again, but Dhritarashtra didn't accept. So again, a lot of nice words, proper words, detailed words were given, but Dhritarashtra fell into blind ears. So finally, now, after so many things has happened, the entire Mahabharata war has happened, so many deaths has happened, the entire dynasty was almost annihilated. And now, what is happening? Dhritarashtra is living in the palace of his enemy. Previously, Dhritarashtra wanted to kill the Pandavas. And now that he has lost his war, his sons have died, all his 100 sons have died, he has lost everything, and he's living in the palace of the Pandavas. And, and being fed by the mercy of the Pandavas. Of course, the Pandavas were all righteous. They didn't say anything to Dhritarashtra. They were very, very polite to him. They served him very, very nicely, just like their father. But Vidura was concerned for Dhritarashtra. When will this person open his eyes and realize his position? When will he go move towards, his entire life he became adharmic. So towards death is fast approaching for him. So to deliver him, he finally came with a mission and using very strong words. If you remember, he said, "You are just like a household dog." These are the words he used. You're staying in the house of your enemy, eating the remnants of the food given by Bhima. So, Bhima killed all your 100 sons, and this is your fate. So you have been blind throughout your life, and now in your old age, you're also becoming deaf. And your teeth is becoming loose, your liver is becoming defective, your lungs is getting clogged up with mucus, and your memory is going, and your intelligence is also becoming weak, your senses are no longer powerful, and death is fast approaching. And what are you doing? You should immediately, you should leave your home. So this was all the things Vidura was telling to Dhritarashtra, to make Dhritarashtra renounce, give up and his sinful mentality and to embrace spirituality. So anyway, let's recap quickly, what were the qualifications of Vidura? For Vidura to, he was acting as a spiritual master, but he was also, of course, the younger brother of Dhritarashtra. But at the same time, what were the qualifications of Vidura, right? Vidura's Adhikar. So Vidura's Adhikar, his qualifications. Number one, he is a Maitreya Atmanogatim. He has received transcendental knowledge through disciplic succession from a great saintly personality, Maitreya Rishi. So that was his qualification. Through the Parampara system, and he has received this kind of transcendental knowledge. So therefore, he had the right to speak wisdom to Dhritarashtra. And Vidura himself is a great personality. Remember, he was actually Yamaraj himself, the Lord of Death, the Lord of Justice. And he is one of the 12 Mahajans when it comes to devotional service, the great personalities, the great authorities of Bhakti. Right? And on top of that, he's self-controlled. So that was evident in the beginning of this chapter when he did not reveal the destruction of the Yadu dynasties. So he knew how to control his speech, right? Vacho Vegam. So that is his qualification. Nectar of instruction, Sri Rupa Goswami says, if one wants to become a guru, the first thing one needs to do is to control his tongue. Vacho Vegam. Right? Manasa Krodha Vegam. To control the tongue, to control the mind, to control the urges of the belly, genitals, and all that. So, in this way, but Vidura was master. He was Goswami, controller of his senses. So that was his qualification. And on top of that, he was merciful. So whatever he spoke was for the benefit. Hitam, it was for the benefit. And he had his well-wishers in his heart. So he wanted to do the ultimate good for Dhritarashtra, and time is very, very, very short. There is no more time. Dhritarashtra is on the verge of death. Actually, Vidura already knew that Dhritarashtra was going to die in 7 days. By the mercy of Maitreya Rishi, he already knew that Dhritarashtra was about to die in 7 days' time. So, and therefore he came, and in this way, with all last ditch effort, to get Dhritarashtra, to save him. Because Vidura, younger brother to Dhritarashtra, though Dhritarashtra was having all this negative, attitude and behavior, but still Vidura was very fond of Dhritarashtra. They were very good friends, actually, when they were growing up, and they were even when they were in the palace. Dhritarashtra appointed Vidura as his prime minister because Vidura was very intelligent. So, and they were very close. So nostalgia, remembrance, memory, So for all the old time sake, Vidura wanted to do ultimate good for his elder brother. So then we heard about this in this chapter also. Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra about the actions of Kala Parama. Time, inevitable time, supreme time. Kala is time, Parama is supreme, right? The actions of supreme time, no one can check it, no one can stop it. Even the great conquerors, they may have conquered at a certain time, but eventually time overtakes all of them. All their kingdoms and they themselves have now become dust. So that is Kala Parama. It is inevitable, cannot be checked, and it is fast approaching. And then and this is the actions of Kala Parama. So he says that this time fast approaching and you are coming close towards death. What is happening to you? You're being overtaken by fear. Bhayam agatam. So fear is quickly overtaking you when death is approaching you. So this is what happens to most people in this world, especially when death is approaching. They become overtaken with fear, and this is especially true for those who are too much attached to material things, and for those who are always engrossed in family affairs or mundane family things like griheshu means housely or homely affairs. So those who are too much engrossed in home, oh my grandfather, oh my mother, oh my father, oh my children, oh my grandchildren, oh my great grandchildren. So this kind of thinking, even towards the time of death, and those who are too much attached with people and everything. So for them, time is the great equalizer, and as it approaches, there is great fear which comes. So therefore, Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra, these are the inevitable. So, and then he's warning Dhritarashtra, look, you are getting old. Signs of apaksha. Apaksha is getting old and degradation very quickly. So, what were the signs we heard, as I mentioned earlier also? Weakening of the senses. The senses become weaker, the eyesight becomes weaker, the hearing becomes weaker, everything becomes weaker, the senses, and memory and intelligence also becomes less sharp, the teeth becomes loose, the liver digestion becomes problematic, uh, and mucus starts forming heavily, clogging up. So these were all signs of apaksha. So one should understand, right? And despite all this, Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra, hinting to him, despite time being inevitable, despite all these signs of destruction coming, still the asa, the asha, the desire of the living being to remain in this life is so strong. So he talks about that a little, right? But he says, but for you, you must let go. So he tries to convince Dhritarashtra to go towards the spiritual path. So setting him in the Dhira path. Dhira means one who is sober, one who is, understands reality from illusion and moves towards the sober direction, which is towards spirituality. Okay, so that was so here this was the last verse we covered previously. I'll just repeat this verse again. So Vidura ends, coming towards his end of his conversation with Dhritarashtra. He's saying, become a dhira, become a spiritualist. So he says he is called undisturbed. What is a dhira? Dhira is one who is undisturbed, who goes to an unknown remote place, right? Avijñata gati. That means and he wants to attain spirituality, and freed from all obligations, quits his material body when it has become useless. So that is dhira, right? So he says this person, he is called dhira, who goes to an unknown remote place. and freed from all obligations, quits his material body when it becomes useless. So, in other words, previously we mentioned in spiritual path there is two spiritual paths. The path of detachment. In the path of detachment, renunciation, nivritti marga, there are two ways to go about it. One is the jnana marga. Jnana marga means one who takes to the jnana path. That means not bhakti. He goes, and this was described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 very much, right? How to do this path. One has to first take up karma yoga, and from karma yoga then he has to give up everything, give up his family, give up eating also, everything, and go to a lonely place and sit there and then do meditation. So that is the jnana path, which is not practical anymore in Kali Yuga, which is the difficult path, which is the path meant for those who are envious of the Supreme Lord. So that path is not recommended. But for Dhritarashtra, he is recommending that path because Dhritarashtra cannot become a devotee. The other path in spirituality is to become a bhakti yogi, to become a devotee of the Lord. So Dhritarashtra couldn't become a devotee of the Lord because two reasons. Number one, there's only two reasons why someone cannot become a devotee. Number one is one becomes envious of the Lord. So Dhritarashtra wasn't envious of Krishna. So that wasn't his problem. So his problem was the second problem. The second reason was why people cannot take up the spiritual path of bhakti is because they become very offensive to the devotees. So Dhritarashtra, he committed huge offenses to not just any devotees, to Pandavas, very, very dear devotees of the Lord. He tried to kill them in so many ways. So much of intrigue was done against them. He was very unfair towards them, although he was supposed to protect them. His position was like a father. He was supposed to protect them because the Pandavas' father passed away and he was the brother of the father of the Pandavas, uncle. Despite that, he did not do his duty, and contrary to his duty, he acted. So and he was very, very offensive. And even after the Mahabharata war was over, when everything was done with, still he never apologized. So in his heart he was always still bitter. So therefore, because of that great offense towards the Pandavas, he could not take up spiritual the path of bhakti. So Vidura knew that and he was very sad about it, but still better than nothing, at least take up the jnana path. So he went and instructed the jnana path, the path of the yogi, to Dhritarashtra. Okay, so today we are going to hear what happens after that. So the verse continues. So Vidura continues with the instruction, coming towards the end of it. This Dhira, because we have been describing the Dhira, right? He is certainly Nara Uttama, who awakens and understands either by himself. What is Nara Uttama? Nara means human, Uttama means the topmost. So he is the best amongst humans, or the chief of the best human. So he is the topmost human being. Who is the topmost human being? One who awakens and understands. Understands what? Understands that this material world is false and it's full of misery, right? The falsity and misery of this material world. So that is the person who is Nara Uttama. How he can understand this? He can understand this either by himself through his own experience and his own contemplation. He understands this, or he receives this knowledge and gets the faith from others. So these are the two ways he can understand this. Now, a human being, he is in the material world. This material world is a place of darkness, right? Full of it's full of all kinds of things. Maya is very strong, right? So a person in Maya, why? Because he is mixing with bad company. So when someone mixes with bad company, right, he becomes very much entrapped in Maya. So and that person becomes frustrated. what happens when he is trapped in Maya? Everything he does is frustrated. He has a frustrated life. He tries so hard to enjoy, but all of his enjoyments are very, very, very small compared to the amount of effort he puts in. And even that also sometimes is frustrated and becomes sources of misery, right? So, but if he somehow understands by himself, right, or by the mercy of others about the nature of this material world, right, then he is considered the Nara Uttama, the best of such human beings, right? And he starts to awaken his understanding. So when he starts to awaken his understanding, eventually he will become Dhira, because he becomes very sober. He becomes equipoised to the sufferings and the happiness in this material world, understanding that everything here is basically illusion. So, and that is one understanding, the Dhira. So many people, many examples are there, right? Like for example, I put here a picture of Prabhupada. Prabhupada came and he mercifully gave this knowledge, and he awakened all those people in the hippie community in the Western countries. They were hippies. They were drug addicts. They were smoking all kinds of things. They were addicted to intoxication, sex, meat eating. He went amongst them, and somehow he awakened them towards self-realization. So this is what he did. So they owe everything to their guru, Srila Prabhupada. These are all his disciples. Another example from the scriptures, we know the story of Dhruva Maharaj. How Dhruva Maharaj was very frustrated, right? And because he was frustrated, he wanted the kingdom of his father, and actually all he wanted was just his father's affection. But his father could not give his affection to him, because he was handpacked, ruled by his wife, his second wife. And the second wife used very strong words to insult Dhruva Maharaj. He was only 5 years old at that time, and out of a feeling of anger, he said, I will get a greater kingdom even than my own father. So then he went to his mother, and his mother told him, "There's nothing I can do, Dhruva Maharaj, my son. I am not the king's favorite wife, so there's nothing I can do about it. So you." But then she gave him a good advice. She said, "Go and search, go and ask God, go and ask Narayana." And then Dhruva was very intelligent. Said immediately he caught on to her words, and he had faith, and he asked her, "Where is Narayana?" And then she told him, "Oh, you can go to the forest. All the sages are in the forest. They search for him there. They are doing all their meditation." So this was I think it was in Treta Yuga, or, no, or Satya Yuga, one of the yugas. And so Dhruva was very determined, and he went. So he had faith, words spoken by his mother. His mother directed him. Although he wasn't looking for spiritual knowledge, but at least the mother directed him towards God, towards Narayana. And because of that faith, and because he was so young, and because he was so determined, he attracted the mercy of a great devotee. He attracted the mercy of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, impressed by his determination, blessed him. And that blessing made all the difference to Dhruva Maharaj. Within 6 months, he saw Narayana face to face, and he became a pure devotee. So, and then there is also the story of Prahlad Maharaj. Now, so these two examples are examples of how self-realization was induced in them by another person. So another person gave them this self-realization knowledge. Then there are also examples of those who developed their own self-realization. Uh, this is Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj heard Srimad Bhagavatam while he was in the womb, just as a fetus. In the womb itself, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Narada Muni to his mother. But when he was hearing, he contemplated very deeply, and his heart changed within the womb itself. And within the womb itself, he became a great devotee. So very great personality. Mm. And when he was born, he was already a great personality, a devotee. Another example is Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So go here we today we mentioned about dedicating this Srimad Bhagavatam class in honor of the disappearance of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So this is Gopal Krishna Maharaj when he was very young, and so young, and he was already a sannyasi, Danda. He was married, but when he came to, and he was in Canada at that time. He was an Indian man who stayed in Canada working there. He was married to a white or Western lady, but there he met Prabhupada, and he was very, very, very interested in whatever Prabhupada had to say. He was very, very attentive, and he was a very serious person, and he became completely surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada told him, come to India, because you are Indian. I have lots of mission in India. Come back to India. And he left the Western country, and he came to India. And Prabhupada engaged him in so many projects. Eventually, his wife left him. She couldn't tolerate India, because this was in 1970s, 60s, early, and she was a Western lady. So then, but Gopal Krishna Maharaj was fixed in his service towards Srila Prabhupada, and eventually he received sannyas. So in this way, he was a great personality. So Vidura continues. So he is certainly Nara Uttama. So someone who awakens self-realization either through another person or through his own contemplation, right, is certainly the best of all human beings. And what will he do? So such a person may leave his home and depend fully on Hari residing within the heart, Hridi. So Hridi means situated within the heart. So this is the path of the Dhira. Dhira is one who is taking up the yogic process. Even the yogic process ultimately is in search of the Supreme Lord within the heart, because the Supreme Lord is Paramatma, right? So even in the Dhyana Yoga process, in meditation, they are trying to go within and trying to reveal themselves, see the Atma. They're trying to see the Atma. But as they see the Atma, they also see the Paramatma. And when they see the Paramatma, they realize the Paramatma. And at that time, they become devotees. But it's a very long process. It means they have to leave home, they have to go to a secluded holy place and practice severe austerities. So it's not an easy process. Like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj did that. He went to the forest, he stood on one leg and he did meditation. He stopped eating solid food. He only ate grass and leaves for 1 month. And then after that, he stopped that also. He only ate dry leaves. So, and then after that, he stopped that also. Like that, step by step, he renounced. So it's a very difficult process. But that is not the only process, fortunately for us. Now, before I talk about other processes, now sometimes this frustrated person may also become a sannyasi. He may give up everything and become a sannyasi. So that is dangerous, because without realization of higher knowledge, if he suddenly becomes a sannyasi, then there is great danger of him falling down, because he has not, in his mind, he has not controlled it yet. So that is not so much recommended. So in Kali Yuga, particularly because there's so many frustrated people in Kali Yuga, karma sannyas is forbidden in Kali Yuga. They cannot just leave everything and go out of frustration. Instead, they should first become dhira. They should first become dhira, and then they can become sannyasi. So that ensures that they don't fall down. So that is one process, right? So Prabhupada is telling here, real perfection of the path of liberation is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lives in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So this is full surrender. When one is fully surrendered, then he can take up the path of sannyas. So in that sense, he renounces everything. He no bank balance, no money, no family, nothing. All he holds is one danda, a stick, and then he carries a water pot, and he has only 3 pairs of clothes. That's it. And in this way, he travels all over, preaching the glories of the Lord, fully depending on the mercy of the Lord. That is sannyas, right? Very difficult. So, but if they practice this properly, they can eventually become Narottama. Narottama, also known as Paramahamsa. So this is someone who is the topmost, the greatest personality, becomes the greatest amongst all the devotees. So how they can become that way? The Dhira or the sannyasi, if he gets the fortune to get Krishna's kripa, the mercy of Krishna in the form of sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means association of devotees. If he gets the association of pure devotees, then from Dhira and sannyas, he can become Narottama. Narottama means pure devotee, a very high first class pure devotee. That is Narottama. Sometimes also called Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa means the greatest personality, or in technically it translates as swan like great personality, a personality just like a swan. Hamsa means swan, Parama means greatest. So that is how can you become the greatest personality, the greatest devotee? From Dhira, if you get from from this position or the position of sannyasi, if you get the mercy of devotees. So Prabhupada says, right, then you can become, then you can surrender. But in Bhagavad Gita 7:28, Krishna says that a person who is completely relieved of all taints of sinful acts can alone depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's not easy to become sannyasi, because sannyasi is to completely surrender. How? Here Bhagavad Gita says that you have to be completely relieved of all sinful acts. Then only you can fully surrender. Then only you can fully depend on the Supreme Lord, right? So it's not easy. The practice of that is quite difficult. So therefore, Prabhupada says the Dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of the yoga system. So not easy. But fortunately, by the grace of Vidura or devotees like Vidura, like Srila Prabhupada and others, one can attain the stage immediately, simply by willing. So it's possible to attain. So even if you're a frustrated person within Maya, right? But if we have the great fortune of coming across a pure devotee, and if we serve the pure devotee, and if we take advantage of his teachings, then we can attain this highest position of Narottama without going through this Dhira sannyasi path. Simply by from wherever we are, we can directly achieve this. So that's the great, we will speak more about that. Vidura will speak more about that. But for Dhritarashtra, he's telling Dhritarashtra, you go and take the Dhira path, right? Because you are already offensive. It's too late for you. You're offensive and you don't want to accept, you are not repenting in your heart. So there's nothing I can do for you. I can't make you into a Narottama. You cannot become a Narottama, but at least you can become a Dhira. And when you become a Dhira, then you can become Narottama later after that. So there is still a chance. So Vidura is telling Dhritarashtra, therefore, please leave for the north immediately without letting your relatives know. Why don't want to let the relatives know? Because then the relatives will stop you. Relatives will come and say, no, don't go, or they will stop you and things like that. So leave straight away. And you should do it immediately, because soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men. So Vidura is telling this. He knows Kali Yuga is coming. So this Kali Yuga is very terrible and it's going to diminish the good qualities of all men. So you don't want to be staying here lingering. And why Kali Yuga is coming? Because Lord Krishna already left the world. The Yadu dynasty is already annihilated. Dwaraka has already sunk into the sea. He didn't tell that all to Dhritarashtra because the Pandavas were also there and he didn't want to disturb anything. But he knew, so therefore he's telling Vidura, Dhritarashtra, better leave quickly. So Prabhupada says, Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura at least to become a Dhira in the beginning, if it were impossible for him to become a sannyasi or a Narottama. The goal is to become Narottama, Nara Uttama. Nara Uttama means the best of all human beings, which is a pure devotee of the Lord. But if you cannot attain a pure devotion, at least take up the Dhyana Yoga or the Jnana path and become a Dhira. So therefore he was telling Dhritarashtra, time to leave. Leave everything and go and practice this spiritual path. So Prabhupada continues, one may live in the darkest jungle alone, out of home, but a steadfast devotee knows that he is not alone. So this is meant for those taking the Dhira path. How can they get the faith to just leave everything and just go and completely depend on the mercy of the Lord? How can they get this faith? So therefore the scriptures have all these verses which helps to give them that faith. So they need to have that steadfast devotee, because they need to have that firm faith that Paramatma is in his heart. And Paramatma, he's already supplying the food and the subsistence of every living entity in this world automatically without even them asking. Rain is falling, grass is growing, things are going, there's always trees growing. So animals always have food. There is always something somewhere. Everything is arranged by the grace of the Lord. So what to speak of someone who is giving up his life to fully focus on spirituality? Wouldn't the Supreme Lord in the heart give him all facility to assist in that? So one has to have that strong faith and then strike out alone towards the northern direction. So example is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was so convinced that the Supreme Lord, his devotion was so strong that nothing could harm him. So many demons were set against him to attack him, to kill him, but he was not afraid in the least, and he was fully in meditation of the Supreme Lord, remembering the Supreme Lord only. So nothing could harm him, right? So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is with him, and he can protect his sincere devotee in any awkward circumstance. But we have to have that kind of faith, right? So that is an investment which we need to build step by step by step. One should therefore practice devotional service at home. So that is one way to do, going through the Dhira path, through the sannyasi path, and then become Narottama, like how Dhritarashtra is going to become a Dhira. It's difficult, right? But there is an easier path, especially meant in Kali Yuga. And this path is, what is that Prabhupada saying here? One can practice devotional service at home. You don't have to leave the home. You don't have to go to a solitary place. You don't have to leave everything. Simply by hearing and chanting. So some austerity we have to do, right? So by hearing, we have to dedicate some time, some of our effort in our mind to hear the chanting, or to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have to also do the chanting of the names of the Lord. So hearing and chanting the holy name, quality, form, pastimes, entourage, etc. of the Lord. And how should we do this practice of devotional service? We should practice devotional service. What is devotional service? hearing, chanting, and all that, right? Where should we do? We can do anywhere. We can do at home also. How should we do it? We should do it in association with pure devotees. Very important, right? Because they will tell us where we go wrong. So they will guide us in the right mood. They will correct us in the right direction. So, and simply by being with them, by their mercy and their grace, our advancement becomes very quick and all obstacles are very easily overcome. So that's the advantage of always being in the association with what kind of devotees? Not mixed devotees, association with pure devotees, those who are only having one goal in life. Neha Bikrama Nasosti, Pratyavayo na Vidyate. One goal, right? Without many branches, not Bahushaka, Ekeha Kurunandana, right? So, what is that one goal? To become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means to become the servant of his guru. So that is the goal. So therefore we can practice at home like this, an example here, right? We can have an altar at home. Whatever we cook at home, we can offer, and whatever we eat, we offer to the Lord, and then we take the prasadam as the mercy of the Lord. We bring up our family in Krishna consciousness, teach them spiritual, awaken their spirituality, right? Spend some time not only in material pursuits, not only in education, in and career, but one should also awaken their spiritual understanding, right? So and then in this way one can practice devotional service in the association of devotees. So this path is called Navavida Bhakta. So Navavida, Nava means nine, Vida means the different, nine different processes of devotional service. Starting with Shravanam, hearing, then Kirtanam, chanting or glorification, then Smaranam, remembering, then uh, then comes Pada Sevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord and the pure devotees of the Lord, right? Then comes Pujyam, doing worship, doing arati, doing serving the Lord in his deity form, right? Then comes Vandanam, offering beautiful prayers to the Lord and heartfelt prayers to the Lord, right? Then comes Vandanam Dasyam, becoming a servant of the Lord, and Sakyam, become friendly to the Lord in disposition, and finally Atma Nivedanam, surrendering one's mind, body, and soul towards the service of the Supreme Lord. So these are the nine processes of bhakti. Any one of these processes is enough to bring us to this position. So by Navavida Bhakta, one sometimes by following this Bhakta process, some people may take up sannyas. When they want to become very serious in preaching, they may take up sannyas. Sannyas in Navavida Bhakta means they preach. It's not that they do nothing, right? Or it's not necessary to become sannyas. In Kali Yuga, sannyasi is not compulsory, right? But retirement is compulsory. Vanaprastha is compulsory. We have to retire one day to fully to concentrate in our spiritual life. So in that way, we can become also Paramahamsa. We can become Narottama. We can become the topmost. So this is the process given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and which is being taught to us by the Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And this practice will help one awaken God consciousness in proportion to one's sincerity of purpose. So our purpose has to be single. We have to little by little focus our purpose, and we have to develop that sincerity. One who desires material benefit by such devotional activities can never depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is talking about mixed devotee. A mixed devotee will pray to the Lord, but he also wants material benefits. For example, he wants labha, he wants gain, he wants to gain things. By worshipping the Lord, please give me 9 A's in my SPM. Or, by worshipping the Lord, please give me money. Or by worshipping the Lord, please give me this house or that car or this job, right? So my purpose is because I want. It's still good because they are still pious, because they are still praying to the Lord, but that is not pure devotion. Hmm? So if eventually we have to become pure devotees, so we should purify ourselves. It's because of anarthas in our heart and lack of knowledge and understanding that we have such desires. So as we hear more, as we chant more, our knowledge increases, our heart becomes purified, our faith becomes stronger, and renunciation becomes strong also. So in this way, it will switch towards pure devotion. Of course, we must also want to be pure devotees. Always our desire carries a big factor. Mhm. So then continues, Vidura continues. Thus, actually, Vidura finished speaking. This was the last, just now was the last verse. So now, the sages of Naimisharanya, Sutta Goswami is telling this story, what happened to the sages of Naimisharanya. So therefore, he's telling, thus Ajamida is Dhritarashtra, another name for Dhritarashtra. Ajamida is one of his ancestors, great ancestors, and he was very famous. He was a famous king, and he was very famous for his determination. So Dhritarashtra is being referred to as Ajamida, the son, the great grandson of this personality, because he's trying to say that Dhritarashtra also became determined, just like Ajamida. So Dhritarashtra, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, Prajna Chakshu, due to the mercy of Vidura, right? Vidura gave this information in a strong way, so it penetrated into his heart and entered into his blind eyes and went into his heart. So, and then he became introspective. And by that introspection, his faith became stronger, his determination became stronger, and he was able to break at once Sneha Pasam. Sneha Pasan. What is Pasan? Pasan means the noose, like a hangman. If you want to hang a man, we put a noose around the neck, right? That is called Pasan, a rope, which is catching the neck, right? And what kind of rope is this? Rope of Sneha. Sneha means uh, attachment of family, attachment of loved ones. So he is able to at once break this Sneha Pasan, attachment of his family, everything. And by his resolute determination, how was he able to break it? By firmly being convinced, by introspective knowledge, right? By thinking very carefully, deeply, introspecting. See, that's another problem in Kali Yuga. People don't have time to introspect. How much do we actually have time to introspect? Our days just pass. We are doing. We're acting, and we are talking, acting, doing, and we don't really have time to just sit and do nothing and to start thinking deeply. So we should do that, right? Contemplate about the nature of the world, contemplate about the truths that are being revealed in the world, open our eyes and see what's happening around us and with us, right? So then we will develop the determination and the understanding to break the sneha pasan, the noose of attachment, of relationships. So by his resolute determination, thus he immediately left home to set out. Where did he go? On the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother. So in Sanskrit also the term is brother. So this is the English word brother comes from Sanskrit actually. Bratar, that is Sanskrit. So And Vidura set him towards the Dhira path. So what's the Dhira path? Dhira path is not staying at home. Not staying at home and hearing and chanting and all that. That is not the Dhira path. Dhira path is leave everything, break all relationships, and set out alone towards the secluded place. And usually, those who are taking the Dhira path, they like to go to the Himalayas. So Himalayas is their favorite place because the air, the area, the atmosphere around there is highly conducive for this kind of purpose, for meditation and all that. So he set out. uh, so Prabhupada is telling, he's reflecting and sharing in this Bhagavatam, he's reflecting and sharing his own experience. He says, were, were we not favored by his divine grace, Srimad Bhaktisiranta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, by our first meeting for a few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept this mighty task of describing Srimad Bhagavatam in English. So Prabhupada is being very humble and he's giving all the glory to his Guru Maharaj. He says, if I never met my Guru Maharaj, right, even the first few minutes which I met him, if I never met him, it would be impossible for me to do what I'm doing now. So Prabhupada is saying. So he's giving all credits to his guru. So the point here is Vidura also was the main person who awoke this Dhritarashtra and made him take up the Dhira path. So if it wasn't for Vidura, Dhritarashtra would never have taken up this Dhira path. He would have remained in the household and died a miserable, inglorious death in his deathbed. So as a Kshatriya, Dhritarashtra was a Kshatriya, so and a king. So that is a very bad way of dying for a king. So Vidura saved him. So Prabhupada is telling the same. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj saved Srila Prabhupada. That's the Leela actually. So, and then he continues, without seeing him, without seeing my Guru Maharaj, at that opportune moment, we could have become a very great business magnate because Prabhupada was doing business. He was doing a pharmaceutical business. He had his own business in that way. And he had several branches and he had a factory and it was growing. And he's saying, if I never met my Guru Maharaj, we would have gone on in that materialistic path. Prabhupada is being humble. Of course, he was not an ordinary person. He came with a special mission and this is all the Leela. But this is the way, this is the mood in how one should always think. So he's saying we would have become a great business person and we would never have been able to walk the path of liberation and be engaged in the factual service of the Lord. So therefore he gives all glories to his Guru. The scriptures enjoin therefore that one should always associate with sadhus only. So therefore this is the power and the highly important aspect of having sadhu. Sadhu means holy person. So as much as possible in our life, Prabhupada is advising, search out sadhus as much as we can and surround ourselves with sadhus only. Associate ourselves only with sadhus. Of course, that is easier said than done because this is Kali Yuga. We don't have so many sadhus around. And even some sadhus that walk in the name of sadhus, they are sadhus in name only. There are many of the sadhus in Kali Yuga or pretenders. They are, they are simply pretenders and they are cheating the public. So it's very rare to find a sadhu. How can we know the sadhu? We can know the sadhu by how much he is not giving glorification to himself, by how much he is always giving it to his predecessors, his spiritual master. And whatever he speaks is always towards the glorification of the Guru, Parampara, and for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So if one is always doing these two, then we can understand he is sadhu. Of course, his behavior is also something which is in line with what he speaks. So a sadhu is achar prachar, one who speaks and one who also lives according to what he speaks. So that is very rare. A lot of people will speak great things, and a lot of people may do nice things, but they may not speak things. But it's very rare to find someone who speaks the scriptures and who also is practicing the scripture, right? So that is very rare. And but in ISKCON, we are very, very, very fortunate, because by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have access to many people who are seriously following in this path of devotional service all over the world, all taking advantage of Srila Prabhupada's books, his teachings, and in this way we can develop. So very, very great opportunities there. So Prabhupada has saved us. And by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus. So what do we do when we come across a sadhu? Most important is we must hear from them and we should serve them. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam. We should inquire from them about the Supreme, about spirituality. We should serve them humbly. We should associate with them as much as possible. Or at least those who are serious in spiritual life, even if they are not great personalities, but at least whose focus is very strong, so as much as that we should try to so for that we need discriminative vision. We should be able to differentiate who is serious, who is not, who is so this kind of ideas must be there. So by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus who can cut to pieces the bonds of illusory affection in the material world. So this is their power. They can cut our sneha pasan. That is the power of the sadhu by their mercy. So Prabhupada continues, foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary cloud, but intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky, with all its variegatedness. So, if we look up into the sky, let's say we are in a forest, right? Or somewhere in the countryside, we look up into the sky. Usually the sky, like here, the sky is covered. It's blocked by many things. We see the trees, we see the clouds, right? And we become very fascinated with the clouds, with the trees, and whatever that we see around us. And the vision of the sky is covered, and we forget the sky. So but actually speaking, these clouds, these trees, this everything else is temporary. For example, the cloud comes, the wind blows, the cloud goes away, and the cloud comes, it carries rain, and it rains in that area. And because of the rain, and because of the rain coming from the cloud, plants are growing, trees are growing, right? But the moment the cloud is no longer coming, no more rain, the trees are no longer there, and it comes and goes. So this is temporary, and it comes and goes. But what is eternal? What is always there? What is always there, which is looking down at us, which we don't bother to see, which is usually covered by our vision? What is there is the sky, the blue sky. The blue sky is always there, but it's always covered by the trees, by the clouds. So similarly, in our life, true spirituality or God consciousness is oftentimes covered in our lives because our lives are so busy and it's cluttered with temporary and distractive things. Many things are there in our lives which distract us and covers us and turns our head away from God consciousness, right? So that's the problem. So we have to, so therefore Prabhupada is saying, foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary cloud, which is the cause of all this other forest and everything. But intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky, which is the source of the cloud. So a nice example Prabhupada gives, right? We must learn to focus on what's really important in life, right? So in materialistic thought, we want to we want to remove the cataract from our eyes so that we can see clearly the actual thing. So then the verse continues, the gentle and chaste Sadhvi Subalasya Putri, the daughter of King Shubala. Who is daughter of King Shubala? Gandhari. Gandhari is the wife of Dhritarashtra, and she is described here as chaste. Chaste because she follows her husband. Wherever her husband goes, whatever the husband does, she follows. The husband is blind, she also covered her eyes with a cloth to so that she will never be a step above her husband. So this is all the secrets of marriage, right? uh, Therefore these kind of things are done, and Gandhari is very famous in that way. And she is also not just a chaste lady, because to be a chaste lady actually is an austerity. It's not easy to become a chaste lady, right? It's a great austerity, and not only simply chastity due to following her husband. She is very very austere on her own. She had to go through so many difficulties. 100 sons all died, right? So she had to face that pain, and she lived a life of darkness because she covered her eyes in following her husband. So therefore she is called Sadhvi. Sadhvi means, for men is called Sadhu, for ladies is called Sadhvi. Hmm? So the gentle and chaste Sadhvi Subalasya Putri followed her husband. Seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order. So because now Dhritarashtra, he already cut off the Sneha Pasam. He due to the words of Vidura, by the mercy of Vidura, he was able to become very strong in his determination, and he was able to cut off all relationships. So he left alone, but the position of the wife is to always still follow the husband. So therefore the wife, and Gandhari being a chaste wife, although Dhritarashtra didn't ask her to come, he left alone, but understanding what is going to happen and where Dhritarashtra is going, understanding his mind, so therefore Gandhari immediately left everything and followed her husband. So this is called retirement stage. So in retirement stage, the husband and wife are no longer involved in family affairs. They are no longer having intimate relationships. So what they are doing, they are both working hand in hand towards the service of the Supreme Lord. Their focus and their aim becomes attaining the Supreme. And they work together in this way, hand in hand, right? Retirement from all intimacy and retirement from all family affairs, and assisting one another, assisting each other in attaining spiritual goals. That is ideal vanaprastha stage. So everybody should eventually come to this point, either come to this point or become a sannyasi. So this is the way of the spiritual life. They should not live their life until they die without retiring, fully working and engrossed in materialistic thinking and materialistic life. That is very bad. So like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. So Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they have lost. They have lost in the game of life. What is the game of life? They wanted to, at least Dhritarashtra, he wanted to have a kingdom. He wanted to be the king. He wanted his sons to be the king. He wanted everything, but he lost everything. So just like warriors who have been defeated, right? So after they become defeated, they will return with dignity still. So they will leave everything and they will go. So in the same way, Dhritarashtra left for the Himalayas. He left the material world behind, never to look back again. And Gandhari followed. So here the verse is saying they are moving in the Dhira path, going towards the Himalayas to take up the Ekadanda, eventually to take up the staff of renounced order. So eventually he was going to be renounced, to be a sannyas. But he wasn't going to preach, he was going into the Dhira stage. That means he was going to do meditation. So Prabhupada comments, now when those who take up sannyas, there are two types of sannyasis. There's one called the Ekadandi Swami. Danda means stick, the stick which they carry. Ekadanda means single stick, only one stick. So Ekadanda Swami are mostly fond of the Himalayas. So these are the Jnana path, those who take up the Jnana path, who go for meditation, right? But the Vaishnavas, they are not Ekadandi, they are Tridandi, right? So Tridandi is three different sticks. It's actually three sticks tied together and made to look like one stick. So that is Vaishnava Sannyas Danda. But the Vaishnava Tridandi sannyasis are fond of not so much the Himalayas. Why? Because that is not the path. They want to go to the places where the Supreme Lord did his pastimes. What are the places? Like Vrindavan, Puri, Mayapur. So these are the places where the Lord spent his pastimes. So they want to go there. They are focused towards the personal form of the Lord. Whereas the Ekadandi Swamis, they want to attain Brahman. So they go to the Himalayas because there's lots of cloud there. So just like Brahman, they want to be like the clouds. So that is two different parts, right? So Maharaj Dhritarashtra was advised to follow the Dhiras because at that stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottama, or in other words, to become a devotee. So this I mentioned already. So what happened after this? Ajata Shatru. Who is Ajata Shatru? Ajata Shatru is Yudhishthira Maharaj. What's the meaning of Ajata? Aja means birth. Ajata Shatru. Shatru means enemy. So Ajata Shatru means one whose enemy was never born. So this is Yudhishthira Maharaj's name. He's famous for that. He is such a high-minded, wonderful, wonderful personality that he never in his entire life saw anyone as his ill wisher. His mind was so great, his vision was so lofty that he saw everyone as not a bad person. This was him. So he never saw an enemy in anyone's heart. He only saw people who were doing dharma and people who were doing adharma. So someone who was sinful, someone who was doing piety, he could see that. But he never saw even somebody who's sinful, he never took it personally towards himself. This was the nature of Yudhishthira Maharaj since birth. So no matter what anybody did, he never took anything personally against himself and carried a grudge. That is the nature of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Very fit person to be a king of the world, right? He's Dharmaraj. So Ajata Shatru performed his daily morning duties. So now coming back, Dhritarashtra has already left. Gandhari has also left, but actually together with them, uh, two, two other persons left. We won't tell who the other two left. That one we will keep it as a suspense for the later chapters because it's going to come later. But for now, we know Gandhari left and we know Dhritarashtra left. So back in our kingdom, dawn is cracking, early morning. So early morning, Yudhishthira Maharaj wakes up. He takes his bath in the Yamuna river, right? And he's performing his daily morning duties, such as praying to the Lord, offering fire sacrifices, because he's still, all because he's king. So he performs all this, offering obeisances to the deities, to the brahmanas, to the gurus, offering charity, grains. What are the charities? Grains, cows, land, gold to the Brahmanas. So this is what the daily duties are of the Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was showing how to behave like a grihastha, a household person. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly, Guru Vandanaya, to give respects to the elderly. So Prabhupada says this is householder dharma. If we are married, if we have a house, if we have a family, as householders, this is all our dharma, what we should be doing, right? We should, our house should become like a temple. Everything in the house should be directly offered to the Supreme Lord, who is the owner of the house, right? We are like the servants of the Lord in the house. So sacrifices should be done. What is the sacrifice we do? We do Harinam Yagya. We cannot do fire sacrifice every day. We cannot go to work all. Enough cooking itself is fire sacrifice. So what we do is we do Harinam Yagya in Kali Yuga. We offer obeisances. Mat yaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Offer your obeisances to me. And then we offer charity. So charity is also an important aspect. It's actually very important. It's the one of the most important aspects in Grihastha. Grihastha ashram, because we have the license to earn money, because the other three ashrams cannot earn money. Brahmachari cannot earn money, Vanaprastha cannot earn money, and Sannyasi cannot earn money. Only Grihastha is given the allocation to earn money. But so that this earning of this money doesn't corrupt us, doesn't make us into a miserly person, doesn't bring us into materialism too much, very, very importantly, charity is stressed in for grihasthas. We have to develop this nature so that we do not become misers and we do not become attached to money. So that is the recommendation given. So this is householder dharma. This is all described in the Bhagavatam. So, but after Yudhishthira Maharaj, coming back to the story, after Yudhishthira Maharaj did all this, he went into the palace to pay respects to the elderly. And who are the elderly there? Dhritarashtra, right? Vidura. So, however, he could not find his uncles. Vidura is missing. Dhritarashtra is missing. He could not find his aunt, Gandhari, right? The daughter of King Shubala. Then what did Yudhishthira Maharaj do? Maharaj Yudhishthira, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya. Sanjaya is who? Sanjaya is the secretary of Dhritarashtra. Remember Sanjaya Uvacha in Bhagavad Gita? He's the secretary. And he's not only just a secretary, he's one of the longest friends of Dhritarashtra, the oldest friends of Dhritarashtra. So full of anxiety, Yudhishthira Maharaj turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "Oh Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is Vriddha?" Vriddha means very old and venerable. Very, very old and venerable. Where is our elderly uncle? Where is our uncle who is blind? Why did he say like this? He's not saying this out of insult. He's not trying to insult his uncle, Dhritarashtra. He's saying this out of concern, because already mentioned here, right? And anxious. Where he's blind. Where did he go? What's going to happen to him? Right? He became very, very worried. Where is my well-wisher? See, this is Yudhishthira Maharaj. This Dhritarashtra tried to kill the Pandavas in so many ways. In every way possible, he tried to kill them. And he stole their kingdom and stole everything. And he made them go through this gambling. He forced Yudhishthira Maharaj to take up this gambling. But still, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he only could see dharma and adharma, sin and piety. He never took it personally. So in his eyes, he only saw his uncle as someone as a well-wisher. So where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidura, and Mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her son's demise? So Yudhishthira Maharaj was full of empathy. He could understand Gandhari's pain, right? And he was always remembering that. My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. So, and then Yudhishthira, this is the picture. You can remember how Gandhari, when Gandhari went to the battlefield and saw, of course, she didn't see, but she could feel all her dead sons over there, and it broke her heart. And the same thing also with Dhritarashtra, who did so much just for his sons, who was so attached to his sons, and all his sons died. So he could feel the pain. Yudhishthira Maharaj could feel the pain of his uncle. Even this fighting also, Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't want to kill them. He was willing to say, you know, you did all that you did, just give us 5 village. But even then, Duryodhana didn't want to allow. He wanted to push the fight. And even when they went to the holy place of Kurukshetra, what did Dhritarashtra say? Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveda Yuyuksavaha. He wanted them to fight. Dhritarashtra was asking Sanjaya, oh, they've gone to a holy place. Are they going to compromise? Are they not going to fight? He didn't want that. He wanted them to fight, and he wanted them to die so that once and for all he can be free of the Pandavas. But still, Yudhishthira Maharaj, see how he's thinking, right? And therefore he says, undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, did he, Dhritarashtra, did he therefore take my offenses very seriously and along with his wife drown himself in the Ganga? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, his heart is very, very soft. So he was thinking like this, right? I went and fought with them. I did the Mahabharata war with them, and all these people were killed. And because of me, so and now I am the king. So are my uncle and auntie so broken-hearted with me that they have left and they went to kill themselves? So he was very, very sad and heartbroken. If you remember previously, Yudhishthira Maharaj after the Mahabharata war was inconsolable. No one could console him, right? Even Krishna couldn't console him. Of course, that's the pastime. The pastime was so that Bhishma will console him. So when Bhishma consoled him, then he heard from Bhishma, and he became pacified, right? And Bhishma was able to speak the glories of Dharma and so many other things. So we remember that Yudhishthira Maharaj was inconsolable. He was very disturbed. After so much has happened, now finally when Dhritarashtra left, he was very disturbed. And he starts remembering, when my father Pandu fell down, when my father Pandu died, and we was all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is remembering how they took shelter in Dhritarashtra's palace after their father passed away. You know, they were orphans. Only the mother Kunti was there, so they were unprotected, and they were given protection in the kingdom of Hastinapur by Vidura and Dhritarashtra. Of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj never blamed Dhritarashtra, because he knew Dhritarashtra was affected and controlled by his son Duryodhana, right? So even though he's not naive, he knows he's one of the most intelligent persons in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he's not naive, he's not foolish, he knows, but he never blamed him. He always only saw the good, and in this way, he was feeling sad that, was it due to my ungratefulness? Alas, where have they gone from here? So in this way, he was crying. So Prabhupada says, Maharaj Yudhishthira was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhritarashtra and aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in their old age and aggrieved conditions. So he took care of them very, very well. Even though he was king, even though Yudhishthira Maharaj was crowned as king, he would still consult Dhritarashtra. He would still put Dhritarashtra in a place of honor, and he would still, he would personally go and serve them. Every morning he will take their obeisances. This was Yudhishthira Maharaj. As a pious man, Maharaj Yudhishthira took into account all his unavoidable misdeeds. So he never blamed others. He only saw faults in his own self. So he could only see fault in himself. So he was thinking he was being ungrateful. And he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. That is the nature of a good man and devotee of the Lord. A devotee never finds fault with others. So this is description of Uttama Adhikari. So we cannot artificially uh, imitate, right? This kind of vision is very advanced vision. It's Uttama Adhikari vision, right? Remember, there are three levels of devotees. The topmost devotee, Uttama Adhikari, the mid devotee, Madhyam Adhikari, the lowest devotee, Kanishta Adhikari. Although we do not imitate, but still it's important to know that this is what pleases Krishna. This is what makes Krishna see us as his devotees, right? And this is the standard of a pure devotee. So if we know this standard and if we are conscious of this standard, we will strive in our heart to try to be a better person, right? So that is the point. Not that we artificially naively behave like this, right? We have to make discriminations. Madhyam Adhikari makes discriminations. That is the hallmark. He needs to know to protect himself. He needs to differentiate who's a well-wisher, who's not a well-wisher, to protect himself, not to attack the person, but to protect himself and protect his devotion, because his devotion is not yet strong. The plant, the creeper of devotion which is cultivating, is still vulnerable to attack. So he has to protect it. So he needs to be discriminative, right? He needs to be able to see who is pure, who's not, who is well-wisher, who is not, right? And stay away from such people and, protect it. But as the creeper grows, as the bhakti plant grows and becomes into a big tree, nothing can harm that big tree already. At that time, automatically his vision becomes like this. He's able to see everyone in everything. He cannot see misdeed in anybody. So that is Uttama Adhikari, right? So this kind of people, Uttama Adhikari, they cannot become managers, right? So they should not be managers. So even Prabhupada said, for the sake of preaching, I stepped down from Uttama Adhikari platform and became Madhyam, right? Of course, he never said it like that. That sounds very ostentatious. But the point is, when it comes to management, one cannot adopt this Uttama Adhikari mood. One has to come to the, uh, what do you call, the Madhyam mood. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, uh, that was his mistake with the gambling. So he was high-minded in that direction, and he did not consult Krishna, and that mistake was done. So that is the problem. So Suta Goswami said, because of compassion, kripaya, and mental agitation, sneha vaiklayavyat. So he was very disturbed. He was anxious, thinking about his uncles. Sanjaya, not having seen his own master, Dhritarashtra was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaj Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira Maharaj asked this question to Sanjaya, and Sanjaya himself very much heartbroken, because they all suspected already. Don't know, they suspected that Yudhishthira Maharaj, Dhritarashtra is not going to come back. So they were all heartbroken, and he was very aggrieved, and he could not properly reply to Maharaj Yudhishthira. So Prabhupada says, Sanjaya's sorrow knew no bounds. He was fully sorry for Dhritarashtra, because in the game of battle of Kurukshetra, King Dhritarashtra had lost everything. So he was very sad for Dhritarashtra. He was his great friend. And at last, the king and the queen had to leave home in utter frustration. So he was sad that this became the fate of Dhritarashtra. So then the verse continues. First, he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence, and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Ajata Shatrun. So again, this verse, this word is very significant, Ajata Shatrun. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is again referred to as one who never saw enemy. So he's famous by that name. So Sanjaya then said, "My dear Kulanandana, O son of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. Oh, great armed one, mighty armed one, Mahabahu, I have been cheated by those great souls." So this is saying it out of heartbreak because they left without telling him. So therefore he's saying like this. So Prabhupada said he, Sanjaya, did not know that the inner vision of Dhritarashtra has been awakened. So Sanjaya was thinking that Dhritarashtra left broken-hearted in a very miserable state, having lost everything, and went together with his wife to go and kill himself. So this was what Sanjaya was thinking. So he was very, very sad. So he did not know that the inner vision of Dhritarashtra has been awakened by Vidura, and that therefore he had left home in enthusiastic cheerfulness for a better life after departure from the dark well of home. So Prabhupada is saying Dhritarashtra did not leave in that way. He left with full determination for spiritual goals, not out of frustration because of loss of material life. That wasn't what Dhritarashtra did. But Sanjaya didn't know that. So unless one is convinced of a better life after renunciation of the present life, one cannot stick to the renounced order of life simply by artificial dress. So therefore, sannyas is something which is forbidden in Kali Yuga unless it is for the purpose of preaching. So because artificial sannyas is very dangerous. So if one wants to renounce everything and leave, he shouldn't do it because he's frustrated in material life and because of that he leaves. That is the wrong reason. That kind of person who becomes sannyas will fall down and create problems for society. So that becomes a pretender. We don't want that. Who should be a sannyas? Someone who leaves everything looking for spiritual upliftment, right? Who is convinced of a better life by renunciation. That is the person who should take up sannyas. Okay, so with that, we stop here. What happens after this? Who will come to pacify Sanjaya? Who will come and tell the truth of what happened to Dhritarashtra? What happens to Dhritarashtra? So all this we will hear in the next session, right? So we stop here today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions from anybody? Anything you want to raise? Clarification?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Ramnaidu Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have two questions,
Hmm.
if you don't mind.
Happy.
Dhritarashtra, when Supreme Lord Sri Krishna was among the Pandavas and Kauravas, Dhritarashtra didn't realize that Supreme Personality of God is Sri Krishna. Under what basis Vidura convinced him to take him to jungle to meditate upon the Supreme Lord?
Okay.
That is my first question, Prabhu. My second question, in Srimad Bhagavatam 113, chapter 37, it is said that Lord Sri Krishna also advised Yudhishthira to tell a lie before Dronacharya. And it was also for a great cause. That means for a great cause, not for selfish motive. Can we tell lies?
Okay. All right. So
thank you, Prabhu. I will listen to you.
Okay. Right. So the first question was on what basis that Dhritarashtra left was convinced by Vidura. Okay. So actually, Dhritarashtra knew that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, where it shows that he knew. He was told, Bhishma told him, Dronacharya told him, and many things happened where Krishna came. And even now also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, remember when Krishna left Hastinapur At that time, who all came to see him off? Dhritarashtra also was there. And it was described that they all fell fainting because they are so attached to Krishna's beauty that when Krishna left, their minds couldn't take it and they just collapsed. So Dhritarashtra knew that Krishna was God, but he could not develop bhakti for Krishna because of his offense towards the Pandavas, the devotees of the Lord. So this is a very, very important point. We may know who God is. We may know Krishna is God. We may come and pray to Krishna, right? But if we offend the devotees of the Lord, even if we pray to Krishna, we will never develop bhakti for Krishna. So that is the point there. So when Vidura came, so therefore Vidura knew this Dhritarashtra cannot develop bhakti. Even though he knows Krishna is God, he cannot get bhakti because he has offended and he did not repent. So it's too late for him. He's going to die soon. So therefore he said, okay, look, you got no other choice. The only other method is you take liberation path, right? You go take the jnana path. So in the jnana path, they will follow the strict processes of purification. So by purification, by following the strict process of purification, little by little, they become purified, and ultimately they will see the Paramatma within the heart. And when they see the Paramatma within the heart, the vision of the Paramatma which they see will purify them. So, but the purpose of them is in doing this is not to see the Paramatma. Their purpose is to see their own Atma. They want to realize their own Atma, right? Because they want to achieve Brahman. So, in the process of trying to realize their own Atma, when they see their own Atma, they will see Paramatma because Paramatma is standing next to our Atma in our heart, right? So at that time, they will become purified. So that's the trick. So therefore, those who cannot accept bhakti, they are tricked into bhakti in this very, very difficult, long process. So that's the way it goes. So is that okay, Prabhu? Is that clear?
Yeah, okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I understand what you mean.
All right. So second
I have to look further a bit. That's it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Second question, telling lies, huh?
Okay, second question. Actually, the second when Krishna told Yudhishthira Maharaj to tell a lie, he was testing Yudhishthira Maharaj. He wanted to know, will Yudhishthira Maharaj hold on, because Yudhishthira Maharaj is Dharmaraj. He will only stick to morality. And in morality, definitely Satyam is Param, right? Truthfulness is supreme in morality. But Krishna wanted to test Yudhishthira, between morality and me, which one will you take, right? Are you someone who's just a moralist, or are you someone who is willing to let go morality for me? That means, are you willing to surrender morality for me? So devotion is higher than even morality, right? So therefore he wanted to test, and he asked. So when Yudhishthira, when he asked this question, Yudhishthira was shocked. Oh, you want me to lie? But at the same time, he couldn't say no, because he wanted Krishna at the same time. So, but to help him, Krishna made a plan, right? And therefore, another elephant called Ashwatthama was killed, and then this message was passed to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So, but Yudhishthira Maharaj hesitated. Because he hesitated in telling a lie for Krishna's pleasure, therefore, because he was Dharmaraj, it seems that his chariot never touched the ground. When he was driving the chariot, his chariot was always floating in the air. But the moment he hesitated, it touched the ground. And because it touched the ground, so there are two types of people. One group of munis say that the chariot touched the ground because Yudhishthira Maharaj lied. So therefore it touched the ground. Another group of munis say actually it touched the ground because he hesitated from Krishna's command. That's the reason it touched the ground. So Vaishnavas say the second reason is the real reason, because he hesitated from Krishna's this one. So back to your question, Prabhu. The question is, should we tell a lie? The answer is we should not tell a lie because we took an oath to uphold the four principles of Dharma, which is Satyam, mercy, tapa, and cleanliness, right? Saucham. So Satyam, we do not gamble. So what is the purpose of that? Is to uphold Satyam, truthfulness. So we should not tell a lie. It is sinful. But if Krishna comes in front of you and tells you to tell a lie, then you can tell a lie. or
Will that happen?
or if for a very important reason that telling a lie means that you will make a person into a devotee, right? If you know for a fact, if your guru tells you to do this, it will be very rare this happens. But if it does happen, then you can tell a lie. So the point here is Dharma is subservient to Bhakti. It's not that Dharma is superior to Bhakti. Dharma is the platform in which Bhakti is built. So, but Bhakti is superior. For the sake of Krishna's pleasure, anything can be done. The gopis told all kinds of lies. They told everything to, just so that they can go and serve Krishna. So that's why Krishna in the end says, Sarva Dharman Parityagya. He tells everybody, including Yudhishthira Maharaj, abandon all varieties of dharma. Yudhishthira Maharaj is dharma, 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 dharmaraj. But Krishna says, dharma also you finally abandoned in favor of bhakti. That's the highest realization. But we as devotees, we should not lie unless Krishna, when the choice is between Krishna and, then we can lie. Right? But we lie also, we still have to go through some reaction. but the reaction will be very small. So that's the answer to the question, Prabhu, according to my
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Understand. In the name of Krishna, for benefit of Krishna benefit, we can lie.
No,
But
that
not
has to
for
be understood
personal.
very carefully. Sometimes we will think, oh, this will benefit Krishna. So this is when we want to go against Dharma, we cannot rely on our own mind and we cannot rely on our own intelligence. It has to, the command has to come from Krishna or his direct representatives or from Guru, right? Then only. Otherwise, we should be very careful to even cross Dharma for any reason.
Actually, Prabhu, this is what exactly mentioned in Al-Quran. He said to save somebody's life, you can lie.
Correct.
You can
You're
lie.
right. You're right. Even in our scripture also, there are some exceptions where we can lie. It is allowed. It is dharma where we can lie for 5 reasons. There were 5 reasons given. One reason is for saving one's life. 4 other reasons were given. I can't remember, but if I'll try to search it, and if I find it, I'll post it in the group. So there are exceptions. There are 5, but we need to know these exact 5 exceptions before we start a lie.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, there's one question by Shanti Mataji. Why do they carry a danda? So sannyasi carries a danda. Well, one reason is the danda represents their. Actually, I don't remember the answer for this. I remember asking this question to someone long time ago, but I forgot the answer. Let me get back to you. I'll find out the reason why they carry danda, and then I will let you know, Mataji. Better to be precise. Any other questions? Okay, right. No other questions. Right, so then we can stop here. If any further questions, please put it in the WhatsApp, or you can message to me also, and then we are happy to always answer any kind of questions. Right, so Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Hare
Hare
Rama Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare. Thank you very much. Have a nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.